Good evening, everybody, and welcome to round 3 wrap of NRL Super Coach Off the Bench. Apologies for not making it on last night, but we were a bit down on troops, but we're here, which is the main thing. Tonight on the show, we've got Guy. Welcome, Guy.
How we doing, lads? Good to be. Sorry, couldn't make it last night.
I was going to say that's cricket grand final winning Guy James.
Yeah, back and all good tonight.
It's the done thing now, isn't it? Like every podcast has got to have a token cricket legend or something. The experienced boys have got the new Australia's next fast bowler.
I'm a marathon runner. Does that count?
Running from the law probably doesn't count, Glenny.
Long time ago. I actually won a marathon. It's a true story.
How did you go this week, Guy?
Actually did well. I thought it wasn't the best, but according to the off the bench scores, did better than the rest, but only scored, I think it was about 1,061. Yeah, so a couple of things that let me down. I looped Turbo. My other option was to put the captain on Kiraz and play Alamotti, but I instead played Taruva and captained him and took Turbo's safe points. So yeah, I copped an AE, which was Highmore Hunt. Wasn't the worst. I think it was about a 28. But then I played Warbrick, which you boys know didn't do too well. A couple of things that went good. Harry obviously did quite well. Payne Haas, I know it hurts Timmy because Timmy was about to captain him, but he had a really good game.
He had
a great 8 minutes.
It wasn't great until about 10 minutes to go, though, was it really, from what I'd heard? I mean, I didn't see any games on Saturday, so...
Yeah, well, I just think even in his past few games, I've had him from the start. He's just reliable and loves to break a tackle, and he's just in good form. And the other one who was did quite well on the Sunday was Preston. For those that played him, he ended up working out quite well. But yeah, it was average week for me, but I dropped 2,000 spots. So yeah, still in 18K.
Yep. And welcome, Timmy. How was your week, Timmy?
Yeah, good, except you knocked me off by a point, you cheeky bastard. We were even before updates, and then I looked up and I went, oh, piss off. He got me by 1 point. Yeah, look, I had a 10.43, gave me 5 out of 10 league wins. I thought it was probably just under par. Looks like I dropped 5,000 spots, which really hurt. Yeah, like Guy said, I actually had the cap. I went to VC on Tommy on the Thursday night game. Had the captain on Payne Haas all weekend, but then just with the way scores were looking, I just figured it was. Normally, I don't like to loop underneath about 130 odd points, but it just this week with the early rounds, it just seemed like the smart play. I think they're getting a little bit harsher with the HIAs, and I think anyone that's sort of slightly wobbly, they're just sending them straight away. So you're going to miss 15 minutes there, plus points that they're missing and everything else. So yeah, look, I kind of did the number crunching. I asked plenty of people in all the different pod chat groups that we're all in. What people's thoughts were, and the general gist was pretty much toss a coin and have a crack. So I went with having a crack, and I was at the Broncos game. It looked famous with 12 minutes to go while Payne was still sitting on the bench. And then he came on and sure enough, knocked out 40 points in his last 12 minutes. So he was on 50 points when he went on the field and finished with, I haven't seen what his updates were, but he was on 90 last check. Yeah. He went 92. So yeah, look, in order to do that, I dropped Alamotti, which didn't end up working out so well. But while everybody else was talking up Kiraz, I figured I was going to do something a little bit different and try and go a bit safer and bank some points. So didn't work out, but that's the way that it goes sometimes. If it came off trumps and Payne didn't bang out that extra 40 points, like obviously he was in my team anyway, but the difference then would have been fine. So if he went, I factored in for a 75 for him. I put in a 55 for Alamotti into the scorer, the captain selector, whatever the hell you call it, and and then I got a 28 out of my AE. So not the worst AE. Unfortunately, like Guy, I'd already played Warbrick anyway. Was always going to be in there. I figured against the Titans, he was certainly a chance. But I was listening to the game in the car on the way to my football, and look, they barely mentioned his name in the 45 minutes that I was in the car. So that's how average he is, and I think he's probably on my chopping block this week if I can make a few other trades work. So it's
he's not worth
anyway.
He's not worth too much, so there's not too many options.
And that's the hard part. But I started with 3 bottom dollar cheapies on the bench with my centre wings. So yeah, look, you just got to. I'll probably bite the bullet and try and cut some of those guys unless they're going to make some cash. But it'll be the usual story. You cut him, he'll score 2 tries this week, get an 80. But that's just the downside of playing the Storm's outside backs, and we've talked about that for years. Even all the good ones, they'll score 5 one week and might as well score 500 the next week.
Not just even their outside backs. Like another one was Welch. He also let me down. I'm not sure if you played him.
He only played.
I was the same too, mate.
He only played 32 minutes. He was a rotation apparently because of the heat, I believe. Said I didn't see any of the game Saturday, but he only played 32 minutes. No injuries, nothing. Just rotated the forwards around. So
Yeah, it's a bit worrying.
Yeah. Well, the heat's definitely affected the start of the season. The heat's affected a lot more this year than any other year. It's certainly been some really hot weather. So anyway, Tim, you think your round was bad? Wait until you get to me. We'll talk. Well, you've got nothing on me. So
yeah, but you knocked me off by a point, you cheeky bugger. So that's all that really mattered.
All right, and next on the show we have Glen from NRL SC Tragics, coach of Tiger for Life. Welcome, Glen. How was your week?
Yeah, I mean, in a frustrating week, there were some good points and bad. I mean, I got 171. My pods this year, I've started with a few pods. So Miller did well for me. Nat Butcher did well for me. Tarpany did okay. Neocora was a bit but the problems for this week was I played Katoa because I thought Dewey would be out. So that forces me to play Katoa. And then on top of that, when the last round came, I left Alamotti on the bench and played Warbrick. So I had Alamotti as backup for for Dewey. And then I said in the chat I was going to play Alamotti over Dewey, and I didn't. But yeah, for the rest of it, it was pretty good. Good enough.
Well, then it gets to me. Now, I was playing some games because I had a pretty important head-to-head this week with a mate who was giving me shit all week that he's going to pump my ass. And I decided to play the games with him and reverse my trades and do the trades game by game and put my captaincy on some dud player. Well, Friday night came and I forgot to do my trade to go from Cheese to Reed Barney. That was the first one. Then went to races on Saturday and got absolutely wasted at the races on Saturday. Forgot to change my captaincy off Almonte onto Grant, who was captaining the whole time. Got home and realised I hadn't done that, and my only 2 choices left was for captaincy was either Almonte or Dewey, and I had the option to loop Turbo, so I ended up looping Turbo. Took Preston out, which was 69 points sitting on the bench. So Tim, all I can say is do your trades before you get on the drink. That's all I can say.
Rookie error.
Happened with BBL this year too, and that's just I haven't learned my lesson yet. So,
mate, we've all played that game at some stage, that's for sure.
All right. Before we go through a bit of a wrap from all the games from the weekend, as usual, just a big thank you again to our sponsor Bluebet, who've been fantastic for us, doing a really good job. And yeah, they can't be any more thankful for these guys for jumping on board with us. So thanks to those guys. Anyway, we'll move on to the first game. So we had Manly 34, defeated Parramatta 30. We had Turbo 103, Dylan Brown 88, Garrick 82, Gutho 84, Sivo 73. Houston was 59, but he looked so busy out there. But just 3 try assists and getting 59, but he just looks so good out there. I really like what I saw from him. A couple of good kicks in there, some really good plays, a couple of good cutout balls. Hopgood was obviously a bit disappointing with 45, but he played reduced minutes, didn't play 80. Still made 155k, which is a great start. So we'll go to this one on Glen. What did you make of this game, and is there any ones you're looking at to buy from any of these teams?
Yeah, well, I like Schuster. I mean, it was a high scoring game, so base was going to be down a little, but Schuster showed me enough. And when you've got him on the left hand side where Turbo's dominant and Garrick, so Schuster's definitely one I like from there. But the one I really like is Dylan Brown. So Dylan Brown's the other one that I may be looking from a Dewey to Brown. He plays round 13, incredible base, and yeah, I like their draw. It opens up. I think it's round 6, so they're the two that I really stand out.
Guy.
Well, I've got Schuster already, and Tommy had them from the start. The only Manly player that I'm looking at now is Garrick. Potentially selling Teddy though, which I'm not too sold about. But yeah, Garrick's definitely. I love him. I think his BE's low 30s. But yeah, he's just consistent points. And in that side with Tommy, he'll kick a lot of goals.
Yeah, Timmy.
Look, there is a few Manly players that I'm pretty keen on, especially their draw. They've got the Bunnies, Newcastle, Panthers, Melbourne, Tigers, Titans. So a pretty typical mixed bag, but it's bloody hard to work out who's got a good draw and who's got a hard draw at the moment. The good teams are losing, and the average teams from last year seem to be playing all right. So bit of a toss of a coin in a lot of ways. Sorry?
Except for the Tigers. You said average teams are doing better this year, and the Tigers aren't.
Yeah, well, look, I wasn't going to say that. Glen is wearing his Tigers shirt. I'm trying to just keep it a little bit PC for old man Glen over there. But Manly's got a great draw. I'm really keen on Schuster, really keen on Garrick as well. I'm in the middle of, nearly finished writing an article that I started last week for them. So Timmy O's Fear Factor will come out this week with those Manly players. Was going to post it last week, but because they had to buy and everyone was going for the cheapies, as you do after round 3. So the smartest play for us was to leave it a week. So that article will come out in the next few days. So looking at DCE, Schuster, Turbo, and also Garrick there for Fear Factor this week. So keep an eye out for that one. I think you can't go wrong with all 4 of them. DCE didn't have the greatest of games last week, but I think if Turbo's in the team, I think any week that you've got Turbo and Garrick and DCE, I don't think you can go too wrong with those 3 players. I just keep an eye on all 3 of them with their BEs after this round and try and make your mind up from there. But I don't think you can go too far wrong, especially with that draw. Some of those guys actually score really well against tougher opponents, so it's not just a walk in the park for some of their better players. Guys like DCE especially does score pretty well against good opposition.
Yeah, I sort of had a few people asking me about should they buy DC last week, and I said no. I said he's not a buy. I said I couldn't understand. It's just shaking my head.
Last week, you had to wait until after they had their 3 games, or at least wait until they finished.
Well, the other thing too is a lot of the attacks going to left, and DC is not going to see much of the ball, and he's not going to score 3 tries every week, and that's what I said.
Exactly.
His base is terrible. Have a look at his numbers from last year. I owned him. I jumped on him when went on his run, and then he started going on really bad. He just does not have a base. I mean, 46 weekend and did nothing pretty much. So
that's what I was going to say to you, Ross. If you watched the game last week when you got Turbo, who plays predominantly left, Garrick's on the left, and then Schuster's playing left, the ball did travel a lot more left.
Yeah.
So I'd be wary of DCE.
Yep.
The other thing too with DCE, like you said, he's not going to score 3 tries every week, but even when he does score 3 tries, like he's still only finished with 110 or 113 or whatever the hell it was. Whereas you look at guys like Cleary, Turbo, Teddy, they score 3 tries, they're 160, 180 or whatever the hell it is. So it's that's the only downside of DCE, but he does have history of scoring tons against just about every team in the NRL. So it's not a case of he's a flat track bully. He does score the big scores against the big teams as well. So just something there to keep an eye on. I agree with Glenn. I'm pretty keen on Dillbags. Good old Dylan Brown from the Eels. So he's one to keep an eye on. And Mitch Moses has been getting a little bit more involved too. So there is some of those Eels boys there to keep a bit of an eye on. And Dury scored his first try on the weekend also.
Yep. All right, next game with Newcastle 20, Dolphins 36. Dolphins remain undefeated. Go up the Fins, eh?
Up the Fins.
We had Tessie New 107, Lachlan Miller 98, Aiken 85, Osako 81, and Gamble 70, Gilbert 70. Hammer was okay with 55. Really thought he was going to go big this game myself. He did look kind of dangerous in parts of the game. Couple of errors, but he wasn't too bad. Katoa, a lot of people played him, including me, because I had Cleary out and I didn't want to trade out Cleary, so I was expecting to score well. Only got 27. Other than that, pretty much it. Guy, you can on anyone from either of these two teams at all? I know you like Tessie, but he's a bit XEO, bit expensive.
Apart from Hopgood for Eels, I don't think I'd get anyone. They got, I think, Penrith and Roosters next 2 games. Maybe after that.
You know we're talking about Dolphins Newcastle, yeah?
Oh, I thought we were still on para. Dolphins Newcastle. I had no one from that game there.
Glen?
Yeah,
How many drinks did you have yesterday, Guy?
Yeah.
It's been a big 48 hours, mate. He comes out with the cherry. He's just starting to just take the shine off the ball. No, mate, that was yesterday. It's all good.
Yeah, the only one would be Lachlan Miller, mate. I own Lachlan Miller, and I mean, someone I spoke with last week, I won't say who they were, but I said I was selling Teddy, and I said you'll end up selling Teddy this week, and I guarantee they will. But they sold Miller. Mate, he had the most runs, the most tackle busts in the NRL in the first 2 rounds. I mean, what more do you need to like? And that was all without attacking stats. Last week, he just looked really good. But having said that, I'm in a world where I may even need to sell him to be able to get to someone like a Hines or a Garrick.
Yeah.
But he's someone I do like.
Yeah. I actually did look at someone, only because he caught my eye, Leo Thompson. I actually had him last year. I think one of the Safidi boys went off, or I don't know, but he's even all these 3 games, he's actually played quite big minutes. And his work rate's okay. He was only about, low 300s, similar to Stefano. But yeah, I don't know, especially with Welch not performing, he'll be a slow burn, but if he's not one of your main 2 front rowers, like me, I had a quick look at him, but I couldn't do it.
Yeah. The only one I thought that might be a good mid-range pod option, and he would definitely be a pod, is Limu, is it? Is it Liam? How do you pronounce it?
Lemuelu.
Yeah, like he's pumped out a 76 and a 64. Well, he pumped out a 76 against the Roosters. There is an 8 in him on stat, but he's not too bad at of option at 354k. Only 1% owned. If you're looking for a bit of a mid-range pod, it's probably not the worst. Jimmy?
Yeah, look, Newcastle's a bit interesting. They've got Raiders, Manly, Warriors, Panthers, North Queensland, and Para for the next 6 games. And they don't have the bye till round 14. So you can sort of set and forget for this first half of the season if you do want to pick any of them up. Look, I really liked the Lockie Miller pick that Glen was on, and a couple other guys in the chat group. I just couldn't make it work with Turbo and Trell. Going a little bit different, although Lockie Miller obviously could have put him in at centre wing, but I only had the one expensive centre wing there. Yeah, look, I do like the Leo Thompson. It looks like Jacob Saifidi's out for a few weeks with injury. Obviously, Daniel Saifidi's out for another 2 or 3 weeks with that suspension. So they do have plenty of minutes there to go around in that front row, especially. So, look, guys like Leo Thompson is probably not a bad shout. But, yeah, there's minutes there to be had, so you just got to pick the right front row. As for the Dolphins, yeah, look, I jumped on the Hammer. He went up 95k. They've got the Broncos this week. I think I'll still play him against the Broncos. He's been getting involved, and that's the most important thing. He's actually having runs. He's playing much better for the Dolphins than what he did for the Broncos. For the Cowboys, I think. So, yeah, look, he's. I think now that he actually knows he's playing first grade from week to week, I think that makes a big difference. And Lord knows what player confidence does to rugby league players. So,
I agree.
You do agree, or you don't agree?
No, I think Hammer's definitely a play this week. Playing at home, playing at home at Suncorp against the Broncos.
At home.
I
with
think
Broncos.
all 34 players, or most likely 36 players, will be up for this round. It's just going to be an absolute belter. It was sold out a week and a half ago or something, so it could be the biggest game that's played at Suncorp this year. Well, second biggest. I'm sure the one later on in the season will be just as big. So.
If
Yeah.
the Dolphins want, I hope that Kafusi's not out, because without JMK and Kafusi, I reckon the Broncos win this by 30 plus.
I think this will certainly test the Dolphins' depth. I think if with JMK out and also Felice Kafusi, looks like he's going to get 2 to 3 weeks. I think he got. So I'm assuming they're fighting it. There was a show they looked at his tackle and then they looked at another tackle that looked exactly the same, and the player didn't even get cited and didn't get put on report from the match review committee either afterwards. So yeah, look, it's a bit of a schmozzle, the match review committee and how things are going at the moment. So anything could happen.
If you're playing the Sombrero side, you don't get suspended at all, right? With Suwali being charged twice and got off both of them, fines both times.
Yeah.
All right.
I think because the Roosters have got to keep him happy, otherwise he'll go walk into another club. It's not May yet.
Look, the Dolphins definitely missed JMK on the weekend, for sure. But they actually didn't look too bad when Cody Nicarima came on the dummy half though as well. Surprised that they didn't start him because he looked pretty good. Handy player to have to come off the bench, that's for sure. So
yeah, you'd rather him come off the bench than start him. His utility value is why you want him, because he's quick around the ruck around those tight forwards.
All right, next game, Roosters 20 beat South 18. Koala was fantastic, 104 points. Paulo against his former club got a double, 101. Campbell Graham 91, that Butcher 71, and Buttrell 66. Obviously, disappointing stores there was Teddy 60, a few others in there that were pretty average. Lachlan Lillis 37, Sam Walker 24. Go to you first on this one, Timmy. Anyone that you're looking to buy from either of these two teams or anything?
Look, I'm not really sure about buying, but I'm definitely flicking Egan Butcher this week. I've had him, and I've been. All reports he was going to be the better of the Butcher brothers, and that may end up the case one day. But so far, just his general involvement, he doesn't seem to be anywhere near the ball. Whereas Nat Butcher seems to be getting involved with the play every set of 6. So look, he'll probably become Schuster for me in my second row this week. I'll bank a couple of $100K and put that with the 350 or whatever I've already got, and very close to Nico Hines soon after that. So it'll probably be a couple of downgrades this week and one upgrade somewhere, and bank a whole shitload of cash. And I'm quite happy with my early rounds being a little bit subpar, but it'll help me build the bank to bring all the guns in real quick. So yeah, look, it's interesting. I think Teddy probably is a sell. We all know how good Teddy can be, but it's not worth holding that cash there for the buy with the scores he's been pumping out at the moment. Maybe Father Time's starting to catch up with him a little bit. But it's quite interesting. I think if he keeps, I mean, not that he's having poor games, but he hasn't been putting up the scores, or I don't think even in just real life NRL, he hasn't looked as good as what he has been over the last 2 or 3 seasons. So it's going to be interesting. Obviously, Brandon Smith was unsure whether he was in or out for most of the week, and he ended up playing, scoring 54. But as far as the bunnies were concerned, some of those guys did all right. Look, I'm keeping a very close eye on Alex Johnston. He normally has a few low scores early on and then just kills it for the rest of the season. So I'm just waiting on him to bottom out, and then I'll be diving all over AJ. Totola's been pretty handy from week to week. Michael Chenkham, a lot of people were really keen on him last week. Obviously copped a sin bin, so he lost 10 or 15 points, whatever it is, for a sin bin. And then obviously time on the field as well. So that probably hurt him, but banged out a 50, add another 10, probably maybe another 5 or a 10, and all of a sudden he's 65, 70 if he hadn't been sent off. So he's probably another one to keep an eye on. I don't know if he ended up getting time. Did he get weeks on the sideline?
I don't think so.
So
I'm not sure, but it's an interesting one because I actually never looked at his price or his dual or anything.
It was low 300s or something, wasn't it? Or mid 300s?
The only thing is, I think The only thing is, I think Jacob Host is due back this week too. So
He was 230k.
Oh,
He's just
sorry,
gone,
234. Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
just gone up 60 odd k, so he's just under 300, but
Mm.
negative BE.
I
I
just-
don't think Host will take his spot. My main issue was Arrow coming and taking that spot, but
yeah, you'd have to think.
Arrow will play more minutes through the middle. I think they already came out in the preseason and said that the Jai Arrow.
no, he was on the edge because
He'll
They'll
Murray
start on the
was
left
13.
edge and move to the middle, and then
Okay.
Host will come in. That's how they generally do it.
Yeah, look, I think South, there's some options there when you get a bit closer to round 13 because they do play round 13. So blokes like Colin Matangi, Campbell Graham, and that could be definitely ones to watch for them. So
Yeah, well, they've all leaked cash. Like Cody, even Cody Walker, Timmy said, AJ, you can throw in Cookie, Latrell. They all lost 50 odd K or thereabouts. They've all got high BEs. Even Murray lost 35k, but all of them, the lowest BE is Cody Walker at 79. But out of all of those, they've all got almost 100 BE, so they're definitely on the watch list.
Yeah,
definitely.
definitely.
I think they've got a couple tough matchups, and then it opens up maybe a little bit. But as you said, they play the first bye, so I think everyone should be watching them and try and get them once their price.
And that's a bit of a conundrum for me because I've got Latrell Mitchell started with him and was really keen to hold him as a bit of a pod. He lost 58k this week. He's got a break even of 123. Playing Manly this week, so I mean that could be anything. But yeah, their next run, like Guy was just saying, they've got Manly, then Melbourne, Bulldogs, Dolphins, Panthers, Broncos, and then round 10 back into Melbourne again. So, I mean, take the table with a grain of salt at the moment, but he's currently playing three of the top three teams over the next 6 weeks. But I mean, we all say that Latrell steps up to those bigger games, but then in there they've got the Panthers and Melbourne as well. So yeah, look, you just don't know what.
And the thing is,
turn up.
Cookie, Murray, and Latrell all play Origin.
Mm.
So AJ and Cody Walker will probably become the ace. I think it happened to Cody last year when he dipped in price. Everyone jumped on him for a period last year, but yeah.
The other one that's just been disappointing is obviously Suwali as well. Hasn't been great, and Manu wasn't very involved either. But Glenn, did you have anything to add on this?
Yeah, there's a couple I think that you're missing. So number one for me was Kaloa Matangi. I thought he's been outstanding in the first couple of rounds, and as his dollars drop, he'll be one that I'd definitely be looking at. I think Tass could be an interesting one at round 13, but the one that no one's spoken about after next round is Lindsay Collins. Lindsay Collins is playing great minutes at 400k. And I just think that he's one that for those people who have got a bit of a trouble around the front row, just want to mention something. There's been a lot of heat, right, in the earlier games, which means forwards are going to do less minutes, which also means that if you're spending up for big forwards, you could probably get away with it with a 400k rather than a 500, 600, 700k player.
Yeah, I've got Collins, but I'm actually going to sell him to Haas because he's got a buy, and I need another. I can't play either Mawali or Pele this week, so
You're selling who?
well, I'm going to sell Lindsay Collins to upgrade to Haas.
I thought you said you were selling Haas. Jeez.
I'm not going to play Pele even if he plays. So anyway, all right. Next game, Titans with the upset win against the Storm, 38-34. Harry Grant 105, Nick Meaney 103. Pezet, is it? Pezet is 78. Hughes 68. Kelly 65. Obviously Walsh was a bit disappointing with only 25 points, but only played 32 minutes. Rotated the forwards due to the heat. Other than that, there wasn't really much else there. A few other disappointing scores: Warbrick 14, Remus Smith 17, Coates 28, Leo even 29. So, Glenn, what do you take out of this game? Because obviously noticed Fafita also didn't play 80 minutes this game either.
Well, I like Nick Meaney. I think Meaney looks really good. I like the way he's attacking the line. So from that side, he'd be the one that I'd be looking at. Also, I'd be looking at Munster. There's a chance he comes back this round. So people who are thinking of flipping Dewey, there's an option. Personally, I like Brown better. From the other side, yeah, just yuck.
Yeah.
I mean, even though, I mean, the Storm are looking very shaky. So for those that are really stacked on Storm, just be careful how many you play, because they, in my opinion, they're looking really shaky. And I said this to my son last week, and he said, Dad, they'll come back. It's been a tough, Bellamy will roast them. And I said, you can't fix that. Those edges are stuffed. And I said it in every chat, and everybody told me what I was wrong, and I was right. And I bet on the Titans because I just see a real flaw in those edges. So be careful stacking the Storm.
It's a bit of a concern that they scored 38 points and the high score was 65 in Supercoach, though.
Yeah, well, in high scoring games, generally you will find around the middle.
Less time on the field.
Yeah, that's right. Base will be a lot lower.
Yeah.
That's not abnormal. Add with that the heat and the low rotations. There's a lot of reasons. People are going so sideways and they don't realise they just need.
I'll throw one ultra pod in there from the Titans just to give them a bit of love. My man Brian Kelly, first game back, hit a 65.
Yeah.
He's only 490k, so he's not too highly priced.
Yeah.
They've got Cows, Dragons, Broncos, Dolphins, next 4, so he's not the worst option. But as you said, as for Melbourne, I do like Nick Meaney. Wish I'd got Ellie Katoa from the start. Skipped him.
Do you think it's too late to grab him?
Yeah.
He just made 75k this week.
Yeah.
He's got to break even -9. I don't know. I mean, there's still money there.
That's what I mean. He's still under 500k, and while he's running off Jerome Hughes, you got to think Jerome Hughes is just going to keep putting him through those holes.
Did you see what I said on our pod before the season? So with Katoa, one of the things that I noticed in the trials was that set plays were run around Katoa, which is something that we look for. So I do believe there'll be some good scores come from Katoa when the Storm click, but they need Munster back first. That's why I'm saying no Katoa.
He's probably the one I'm most keen on. Apart from Meaney, obviously you've got Harry. I think Munster just a massive balls up play. I think no fuck all will have him. And yeah, I just think it's, I'm a bit of a risk taker. No, not many people would do it, but he's definitely a good option, especially against Tigers.
Well, you're a risk play because you started with Cody Walker, so you don't want a bit of a risk play.
I've gone from Cody to Dewey, and now I'm not liking Dewey, so it's just a 5-8 curse.
Good. Can you let us all know who you're bringing in this week? So we'll go the different direction. You zig and we'll all zag.
Sorry. I went Cody Walker to Ponga to Dewey.
Just quickly, just on Katoa, so he's -9 break even, projected to make another 57k. And there's 1,100 people trading him in this week. So people obviously still see the value there and potentially could turn into a keeper. I mean, 64, he didn't really do a lot on the weekend. A lot of that would have been in base. So
he makes money, and that's the objective now.
He's just up against some premium second rowers as well.
He's up against the Tigers this week, mate. IPAP and Bateman. He's in trouble.
I was talking just to Supercoach.
And the Storms draw is not bad over the next 6 weeks. You got Tigers, then Bunnies, Roosters, Manly, Warriors, and then back into Bunnies in round 10. So the next 6 is not too bad for the Storm, but I mean, at the moment you don't know which Storm team's going to turn up. They're obviously going to struggle, but as soon as Munster comes back, I think that makes a big difference. And then once you get to about round 10, I can't imagine Pappenhausen's too far off. After that, they were sort of saying maybe 8 weeks in or something like that. So look, it could be any time around then, at which point, keep an eye on your Storm players.
Yeah, I agree. If Munster's back, I think Melbourne should put a score on them. John Bateman didn't look that good coming back. I thought he maybe needs to spend a bit more time here, get a bit of a tan. I think he was wider than the horse.
He's a feed guy. Someone needs to cook the ladder something to eat.
Yeah.
It looks like a matchstick, a white matchstick.
All right. Next game was Cowboys 4, Warriors 26. Bit of an upset, I think. Warriors have been playing some low. But I think a lot of people had already expected the Cowboys to win this one. Montoya 114, Terry Martin 91, Robson 85, Tavanga 80, Wade Egan 71. I mean, Holmes was all right, got 67. You know, still continues to tick away without doing anything fancy. Barnett 45, obviously he went off with that injury, which he's been cleared on, which is good. Seeing a lot of people selling Cotter, which I'm finding a bit strange because, you know, the rotation of the forwards with the heat and everything again, I think that's a crazy sell. Yeah, other than that, there's not really much else there to speak of, I don't think. So,
Jackson Ford.
yeah, Timmy?
Yeah, look, I'm pretty stoked that Montoya has been playing as well as he has. It means that I probably got the decision right last season. Unfortunately, I didn't start with him this season. He got injured early last season and then was out for the rest of it. So, yeah, look, unfortunately, he didn't quite go to plan, but he's doing really well at the moment. So the logic was there. Tamari Martin, nice to see him having a decent game of footy. I think eventually he will play really well over there at the Warriors, getting him back home. And I think that's going to be a good thing. Val Holmes has been disappointing, although he has got as far as Supercoach goes, he's got the second top score for the Cowboys. But look, I was banking on this first 8 to 10 weeks with the Cows not leaving Queensland very much at all. Look, I really thought he was going to ton up on a week-to-week basis. So he's not quite what I wanted. I think I've probably got bigger fish to fry, but so I'll hold on to him for a little while longer. But yeah, look, it's interesting. I'd be keeping an eye on guys like Tomalolo. Keep an eye on his minutes. I think as the temperature starts to slowly decrease, I would definitely be keeping an eye on him. Obviously, he's not Origin relevant. So yeah, when all the other big boys go off to play the rep rounds coming up in other 6 to 8 rounds time. But yeah, I'd be keeping a loose eye on Tomalolo. Nanai was nice to see him not score a try. But then yeah, some other good ones. It's actually been really interesting to see. Tell you what, see Dylan Walker. How much he's actually bulked up in the off season. He's always sort of been a bit of a short round type guy that could run really fast. But tell you what, they had him against a couple of the actual Warriors forwards on the weekend, and I looked at him and went, "Wow, that guy's huge." And they went, "Holy shit, that's Dylan Walker." So yeah, he's really bulked up in the off season.
Yeah, I was going through and doing my stats for the wrap that I do for each game, and he had like 15 hit ups or something like that.
Yeah, he's playing like a front rower. It's crazy.
So yeah, Guy.
Yeah, there's a few I like. one, or not that I like for Supercoach, but in real life, it was good to see Jazz come back. Played quite well, I thought. His normal buoyant energy. It is a bit of a worry for Jackson Ford owners. Seeing him come back the way he did. I think he played over 40 minutes as well. Robson from the Cows, absolutely love. I've got Grant and Hodgson at the moment. Hodgson's only made like 30K this week. Probably sooner rather than later. I know Hodgson plays the first bye, but I think Grant Robson combo is the way to go this year at hooker. So I do like Robson. And the other one that's definitely on my watch list is Cotter. If he drops, below sub 500K, I think he's definitely going to come into my side.
Yeah, he dropped 26K this week, and he's got a break even of 86, projected to lose another 32K.
Yeah, still high BE, so yeah. Hopefully another few more quiet games.
Yeah, Glen?
Yeah, let me start with the Warriors have bought the best, in my opinion, this year. And the coach has come out and said very clearly that Jackson Ford will play 80 minutes on the left edge. And anybody that's watched Jackson Ford in juniors, like I have, he had the most offloads and the most tackle bust of any player in the NRL, in the junior leagues. The second
for the Dragons.
Yeah. The other thing is that so Niokora will play right edge. He will move into lock and Jazz Tafunga will move in there. So that's the coach literally came out and said that Ford needs to play 80 minutes. That's where he excels. So that's the first one I like. There was another one I was going to mention. I was going to remember who it was now. Oh, Wade Egan as a not touch. So many people have been jumping on Wade Egan. I couldn't tell it. Everybody wouldn't listen last week. And I said, yes, he scores tries and that Warriors side is a good side, but he finds an injury and he finds them a lot. Go back and have a look through his record and you'll see that he finds an injury quite often. And on the Cowboys side, so the one that you mentioned I like, which was Cotter. The other one I really like, who could be interesting later on, is Dearden. I think Dearden's an interesting pod play.
Yeah.
Ford's the one I'm telling people, watch Ford.
Yeah. All right, this game, Broncos 40, Dragons 18. It was close till about the last 10 or 15 minutes, I believe. Is that right, Timmy? You were at the game?
No, it was actually a really good game. It was very close, but geez, they steamrolled them in the end. What they score 4 tries in the last 8 minutes or something like that. It was ridiculous. So it was great to be there, great atmosphere, and great to be a part of as a Broncos fan. But yeah, but for most of the game, it could have gone either way.
All right, Reynolds 104, Reece Walsh 95 with some nice junk towards the end after he was sitting on about -2 at half time. I'm sure the owners who traded him in would have been sweating bullets by half time when he was on that. Payne Haas 92, as we said earlier, sitting on about 50 points with about 15 minutes to go and finished on 92. Tony Staggs with a double with 92 and Catewell 72. Herbie and Cobbo a bit disappointing with the 50s. Not much to speak of for the Dragons other than maybe Sloan, 53. Might be an option for those who are looking for something a bit cheaper. Ben Hunt was disappointing with 24. And I think that's about it. So, Guy, yes, I know you like Sloan.
Yeah, I do love from the Broncos, Haas and Carrigan. You know what you're going to get with both of them. Both solid options. I've had them from the start, and they probably won't be leaving anytime soon. The other one, who I like from the Dragons, Zachy Lomax. I think he's a great pod. He's put up 59 and a 71 in his first 2 games. Never has a real low score in him, unlike other centre wings, maybe because of the goal kicking and being a centre, he gets a few more tackles. But yeah, you did touch on the one who I am bringing into my team, and that was Sloan. I just think for the same reason people probably got on Hammer last week. 298k, -41 BE. He's just looking involved. I wouldn't probably say he's a play in his 17 every week, but he'll definitely make cash. And yeah, that's one of my trades this week.
Yeah, Glenn?
I like quite a lot in this, actually. So, I mean, I like Jack Bird from the Dragons. I think Jack Bird's interesting and one I'll keep my eye on. But from the Broncos, I like Reece Walsh as a money grab. I don't like him as a hold. Like, I don't have as much faith in him as other people do. But I'm going to say something really ugly here that people are going to laugh at. Adam Reynolds. Now, Adam Reynolds, people keep saying, oh, he keeps missing games. He keeps getting injured. Go and have a look at his last 2 seasons. He's played 22 and 21, I think it was. He's missed 3 and 4. And out of that, he's had 5 post 100 scores. And, mate, I think he's a really interesting pod play. And he's one that I'm seriously considering over Hines.
That's my problem, is what you just said there, his position. Being only a half, you're going to give up points to people that running a Cleary and Hines combo.
Yeah, well,
I think when you look at the 400k that you're saving there,
yeah, that's right.
I think when you move that 400k around and you can turn
Reynolds is still 650.
Turn 2 other 400k guys up to 600k guns. I think you can make those points and add some. So I mean, the difference between A-Ray and Hines on any given week might be 30 points, but then the difference between a cheap 400k centre wing and then even a cheap second row 400k bloke, you turn both of those into 600k guns, and you'll certainly you could find 30 points per player there, and be up an extra 20 or 30 points overall. So no, I absolutely agree. I've got A-Ray penciled in. So it's to move things around with getting rid of Dewey this week. I'm just sort of waiting on whether or not Hines is named. And then, yeah, A-Ray was one that I was trying to keep quiet until Glen brought that one up. But look, the Broncos have got an interesting draw. They've obviously got the Dolphins this week, and that's just going to be a monster. I think if Felice Kafusi's not playing, as we mentioned before, I think that's definitely going to go in the Broncos' favours. We've got the Tigers after that, the Raiders. I'm not convinced the Raiders are what they have been over the last couple of seasons. I think they're on a bit of a downward spiral myself. The Titans in round 7 is always a cracking game down the M1. Then we got Para and the Bunnies at Manly to get us through to round 10. So look, I still like the Broncos draw. And yeah, we're going to have a shitload of away games in the second half of the season, which is going to make things interesting. Hopefully we don't have a repeat of last season. But I think while the iron's hot and we're winning games of football and there's certainly plenty of confidence out there on the field, I can't see why we can't keep winning football games.
Yep. All right, this game was Bulldogs 26, Tigers 22. Tigers were doing it easy, 26-6 up. Tigers came back, but looking for a there. Naden 96, Almonte 78, Burton 76, Adakar 70, Brooks 64, Kicker 68. Taraz, just a beast. 62 points in pretty much hit-ups alone. Like, you added some attacking stats onto that. He is looking like a serious player this year. Who else was there? Barney was a bit disappointing with 44. Dewey 28 was disappointing. That's pretty much it from there. Glen?
Oh, yeah, there's a couple here, mate. So from the Tigers, I like Pole at lock. I'll be keeping an eye on his minutes and positions. I thought he looked really good last week. That's probably the only one I would touch. I would advise against Naden. So I've actually had messages of people saying, oh, should I get Naden? Naden's got 2 crooked knees. Just don't go near him. As for the other side, I really like what I saw from Hayes Perem. I thought he was really good. And but the one that stood out to me there is Raymond Palata-Marita playing lock and kick out at second row. I think that at the right time, they could be people to jump on as well. And Reid Mahoney, I tried to tell people not to do it. They did. He got lucky at the end. He was on 7 near half time. He just lucky in the second half. He got away with some attacking stats. If you want to do good at Supercoach, watch the game, because people sometimes look at the end score and they think, oh, he got this score, and they buy him. They haven't seen how he got them points.
Yeah, well, actually, it actually worked in my favour. I think at the moment, not trading Cheese to Marnie.
Yeah.
I know it was supposed to happen, but Cheese scored 56, but got a try, but he's got to buy this week. But I might give him just a couple more weeks and see how he goes. And if he doesn't do any good, I might look at upgrading him to Robson or something at some stage once I've got some more cash.
Yeah, not too much interest. I mean, both Tigers and Dogs don't play that first bye. I've got, Preston, Alamotti, Kiraz and Stefano. I'm not really looking at too much. I didn't mind kick out if he drops in price a little bit. I mean, there's a lot from these teams dropping in price. You could probably throw IPAP and Noffa in there as well. If they drop down to a low enough price, then it might interest me. But apart from that, no.
I wouldn't be touching Orphaluma, mate. He got hooked last week.
He got hooked at the end of the game.
Yeah, he got hooked. And there's someone else I wanted to mention, Wakeham. If Wakeham gets that full-time 5'8" position, keep him in mind. He is a bloody good footballer.
Geez, I looked a lot. I mean, I didn't watch the game. I refused to watch the game after last week, and someone sent me a message, and they're like, "Oh, you need to turn the game on." I'm like, "Why the hell would I do that?" We're down 26-6. He's like, "Nah." He's like 26-22 with like 8 minutes to go. So I flicked it on and then watched some of the highlights later on, and but they certainly looked a completely different team when Wakeham came on. Like just.
And he opened Brooks up too.
Remember all the whole talks that Dewey will play fullback this week, so that should hopefully help out for those who all I can say for those who are trading out Dewey. If he's playing fullback, give him another week. I think you can look at him at fullback and see how he goes.
What are your thoughts on Appy? He dropped 60k and he's still got a 80 BE.
He doesn't have the base. You want him. He's the kind of player you want, like in a Penrith side, because he's got the attacking stats. So he's not going to get them, sadly, for the Tigers. And he doesn't have the base guy.
Yeah. Timmy?
Yeah, look, that was going to be my question on Dewey with all the chat that with Wakeham coming in. And I didn't hear the game. I didn't watch the game. I was listening to it in the car on the way to my game. But yeah, look, if Dewey goes to fullback, that actually intrigues me a little bit more. I think he'll get more run meters. He's got more of a chance of probably breaking the line up the middle. But also then the extra added points with the fullback sweep from right to left and vice versa. So look, I was pretty keen to dump Dewey, looking at the scores purely that. But I think now with the chat that he might go to fullback, I reckon I'll probably hold for another week, especially if he makes 3 or 4 games there. The fact that then he may get the obviously the 5'8" fullback dual, that could be pretty handy if that does happen. So it could be a handy play, especially during the buys, if he does manage to pick up a dual, if he stays there for 3 or 4 weeks. Then that's going to be really handy to have to flick 5'8" and fullbacks around. Just gives you a bit of extra options in there. Mind you, now that KP is probably, Lord knows what's going to happen with KP, but he would have been a handy player to have to switch between the two in those two positions. So yeah, look, obviously Charlie Staines didn't amount to what they were hoping he would at fullback. I like Dane Laurie, but he's just he certainly the first 2 rounds he didn't look overly flash, but they got to do something. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. It'll be a bit of a watch this space for your Tigers, I think, gentlemen.
He was pretty good when he brought in that first season from Panthers, Laurie. Last year, very average, and this year just been glimpses of good and bad, like probably more bad than good, unfortunately. But
Too small.
I was reading an article today that the Tigers are trying to get Will Kennedy from the Sharks, which would be a good pickup if they can get him. That would be very handy.
Surely Sharks can't let him go. They've just let Lockie Miller go. They had their backup. Oh, well, then the fullback that they thought was going to play got injured and he's out for the season. So they can't let Will Kennedy go. Otherwise, they're going to like their 4th or 5th string from preseason fullback. So that's never going to happen.
All right, last game is Canberra 24, Sharks 20. Starling 95. Big Horsburgh with a double 95. Smoko 95. Nakora 81. Fogarty 73. Few probably subpar bad scores there. Katoa 22. McInnes 27, just not getting the minutes there. Brayley 45. There's some players to watch here from the Sharks. There's a lot of high BEs in that back line, in particular, Mulatalo, Katoa. These guys are going to be ones that you're probably going to be wanting to look at some stage once their prices drop. One thing I'm going to say on Tom Starling is a lot of people are jumping on him this week. Don't do it. I've got a feeling Zach Wolford will probably be named on the bench this week. So check teams. I don't think Ricky's got any faith in Starling being able to play 80 minutes. So just check that. And by all means, check your teams first before you do your trades. Guy?
Yeah, so obviously Hines we're all watching. I probably won't get him straight away, especially up against my Dragons, but I'll give it a nervous watch. The one from the Sharks you did mention, Sione Katoa, he dropped, I think, almost 75k. Same thing, if he drops down into the 400s and they have a nice draw, I could probably see myself maybe going in as a pod. But they don't play that first bye, which leads me on to Canberra, who do play that first bye. The 2 that I'm looking at, obviously the ones we all know, Tapane and Hudson Young, both been underwhelming so far. But that means their price is dropping. And yeah, so definitely worth a watch.
Yeah.
Definitely bring in before the bye. Definitely Tapane, maybe even Young as well.
Yeah. Glen?
Yeah, I think most of the Sharks, as you've all said, I agree with everything. All their back line and their second rowers, Nakora and Wilton, they'll all be look-ats after the 13. And yeah, I think the only one of interest, I own Tarpany. I started him. I'm not going to sell him. I mean, even in the minutes he's playing, he's still plugging out 62s, and in a season where the forwards aren't getting the minutes. So, and we all know he'll come good. So the money isn't an issue. If you don't own him though, wait for the drop. If you do own him, hold.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, just one more. CHN, just keep watching CHN. Like, if he gets 60, 65 minutes and at lock, he scores quite well. That's the only other one. Sorry.
No, you're right. Timmy?
Look, the Raiders draw over the next 6 weeks. Newcastle, Panthers, Broncos, St. George, Dolphins, Bulldogs. I actually like that draw as far as the Raiders certainly the Raiders forwards, I think they're going to have to work. Just the hard part is with the Raiders forwards, as we've said, is Ricky Roulette, and he likes to move them around a bit. But I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on Joey Tapine. The same thing happens every single season. He drops 150K. You will at some stage pick him up for 500K or close to it, at which point absolutely get all over him. Last year, he got up to 600K, or he started and then just he dropped down to, I think it was about round 5 or 6. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he got down to about 460K or something like that. And that was the point to get on him. So I'd just be keeping an eye on Joe Tapine. He will drop at some stage. He dropped points, but I mean, his BE this week is 77. So it's not like he's going to be losing 50, 60, 80K at a time or anything like that, but just keep an eye on him as he does slowly decrease. And if you can pick him up somewhere around about 550, I'd be all over it.
Yep. All right. Well, that's the round wrap up of the games.
Captains and
Hey?
any captains for this week?
Oh, yeah, we'll go through VC this week. Oh, you can go first.
Well,
Are we doing that tomorrow night?
oh, sorry, I won't be there tomorrow night, boys. So I'll just throw mine up. I was going to VC Nath. Always VC Nath if he's playing a Thursday game. And my captain, at the moment, it's Harry. But yeah, could change depending how the week's going.
And trades?
Yeah, so trades was Teddy to Garrick and either Hunt to Sloan, depending if Marzu comes in for Hunt. But if he comes in for Dom Young, then probably Warbrick to Sloan.
Yeah. No, Glenn?
The captains, there's a few, so I'm looking at a few different options. Penrith play Para.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really do like Cleary then because their edges are shocking, and I really do like Grant. So that's what I'm going. A lot of people, they will be generic and go probably Grant to Turbo, and I don't hate it. But there's another one out there that no one's spoken about, which could be Hines versus the Dragons. So if he does play, that may be where I go.
Well, he averages over 100 against the Dragons too, I believe. Hines, so
VC Turbo, C Hines, I think is going to be my play.
You could go safe with a Haas as well.
yeah.
Like
Timmy.
you don't want to try?
Oh, yeah, trades.
Yeah, so I'm only, the two that I'm definitely doing is I've gone Viliami because I had that spud on he's my only spud in my side. I've had the cash to take him to Walsh, and I've gone either Neokora or Tanner Boyd to Walsh, depending on Hines. Because if I go Neokora to Walsh, to Schuster, I have enough money to actually turn Tanner Boyd to Hines, and I'll have Cleary, Hines, Dewey. So,
yeah, Timmy.
At this stage, I've got Egan Butcher will turn into Josh Schuster, and Warbrick will probably go to Sloan. It's going to depend on whether or not I can afford to lose a couple of bucks there with Nico coming in. If he does, I'm pretty keen on that cheeky left field one with bringing in A-Ray. I've got a big red circles around him and have had for since the last couple of rounds. So he's one I'm definitely keeping an eye on. As for VC and C, yeah, look, I'll probably go the VC on Nathan Cleary and quite possibly Payne Haas. I think the Dolphins forwards have been dominating other teams. So I think especially with Kafusi not there, I think it's time the Broncos forwards will absolutely step up, or they'll certainly be trying to have a point to prove against. I think the fact that it's going to be at Suncorp and technically it's an away game for us. I think they're assuming that pretty much all of the Dolphins fan base are going to be there. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be there to want to watch the Broncos lose. And I think the Broncos forward pack as a whole is going to have something to prove against how well the Dolphins forward pack has gone for this first 3 weeks. So, yeah, look, Payne Haas or a sneaky one on someone like Paddy Carrigan.
Yep. Well, for me, it's going to be VC on Cleary and C is going to go on Grant. Trades this week is going to be Collins, Simpson and Teddy out for Haas, Schuster and Taraz, and nice little kitty there to hopefully go Katoa to Nico Hines next week. So that'll be my trades.
Did you say you're bringing in Karaz?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. still think there's cash to be made there as well. So I'm happy to run them.
To Timmy, I think that was a really good shout on Carrigan's C this week. I'm not going to elaborate why, because I don't want to get too many people on board, but I really like that this week.
All right, well, that's it for tonight. Thank you, Guy, as always. Thanks,
Cheers,
Timmy.
lads.
Thank you, sir. Always good to be on. It's a bit strange doing it on a Monday night, but yeah, no, it's good.
And thank you, Glenn, for jumping on as a guest today.
Yeah, no worries, mate. Sorry I couldn't make it last night. I was busy with my son.
It's all good. All right, everyone. Until Sunday night, have a good week and good luck with all your trades and take care. Bye.
Go the Dragons.